Breaking news. I've heard from a couple of trusted sources baseball season is still going. Who knew? Now, I wouldn't say I miss baseball, but where football season's concerned, I do miss the dirt baseball infield you used to see in football stadiums all through September. In general, I guess I miss the elements, and so will you as football seasons in the 21st century roll on. Listen, throwback week in the NFL was grand. Brent Musburger on the pregame, Bucks, Patriots, Jags, and retro get-ups. Carson Wentz winning a game? That Carson Wentz, yeah. Speaking of which, maybe seeing a ghost of football past will inspire Minnesota to make more Back to the Future alterations. Many moons ago, the Vikes went to 4 Super Bowls in just 8 years when the mucky and miry Metropolitan Stadium was their home. Since they went under the dome, 0 Super Bowls. Coincidence? No. Don't get me wrong, the Minneapolis joint's cool, looks like the Jawas droid transporter thing in Star Wars, but soon, there are going to be 3 NFC North teams and 1 AFC North team playing under a dome. That's good in Cleveland's case. God doesn't want to have to watch that mess. It's no mystery, though, why teams give up the potential massive weather advantage. Domes equal Super Bowls and Taylor Swift shows. Maybe even a Taylor Swift at halftime show of a Super Bowl. By the way, I can get behind the Metallica halftime show, too. That's not up to me. It should be, though. Either way, football is or can be the most aesthetically pleasing of all sports. From sea to shining Seattle in its spectacular open-air clink that lets the drizzle in, from the sunshine in South Beach to the steel gray skies in the Rust Belt. The elements are not our enemy. They're a meaningful contribution that provides regional distinction and particular advantages. No one's ever turned off a snow football game, and the Raiders playing climate-controlled football in that big Vegas Roomba is not an aesthetic upgrade to watching them run around on the Oakland Athletics' leftover dirt under the golden hour light. My fellow football Americans, sameness should not and cannot be our goal. It's just plain weird to eliminate any obstacles to prevent perfection in any elements that distinguish one stadium from another. An essential part of the ticket-buying fan delusion is the shared experience. We're all out here freezing, me and the players. Sure, they're getting run into by other gigantic guys, but on the other hand, I'm peeing into a steaming trough at halftime while 15 other guys are pressed up against me, and that's at least as bad. While you think about that, let's start the show. Hi and hello, my fellow football Americans. Welcome to Football America. It's time to break down NFL Week through. As ever, we're presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Coming up, Gregg Rosenthal and Geoff Schwartz, jerk list, points per game, much to get to as we try to react to all the biggest events that you just saw there in NFL Week 3. The Fuentes brothers have the con in Miami. Bradley is in NYC. Your old pal Dave here in LA. Let's jump right in. Episode 10 of Football America. So as we do, who is the best number 10 in pro football history? It's Fran Tarkington is the answer. With all respect to Tyreek Hill, who's probably in the conversation, as is the Brady killer, Eli Manning. It's definitely not Mac Jones, despite the win. Maybe Santonio Holmes at least had the splashiest moment of the group. Many names that we could run through here. Maybe I forgot one. How say you, the host of NFL Daily on NFL Media, our longtime pal, really as good as it gets in the business, Gregg Rosenthal. What's the poop, fella? How are you?
I'm doing great. I like it when people have like really strong takes about players that they've never seen, like Fran Tarkington.
I've seen Fran Tarkington, you bum. Don't jump into my kitchen and start with that. We have. I'm tempted to take out the Han Solo Edition blaster in advance of the jerk list. You have no offerings. We are rich with number 10 quarterbacks in pro football right now, including the one who just took the L up in Foxborough. His name is Drake May. You also have Jordan Love. You have Justin Herbert. Don Strock, the greatest backup in NFL history to the late David Woodley down there in Miami. Brad Van Pelt, when linebackers didn't wear number 10, he did for the Giants. I think Alex Van Pelt from Pitt wore it when he got to the NFL. Pete Stoyanovich of IU, the great kicker, wore number 10. I could go on, but I don't think anybody cares besides myself. So let's jump into it here. How are you, Gregg Rosenthal, after that Patriots loss? I think that most people coming away from that game probably felt like the team that played better lost the game, but the turnovers do count.
Well, that's happened twice against the Steelers this year, and that tends to happen a lot when Mike Tomlin is coaching the Steelers. So he's doing something right. I did find it convenient that you texted me to do this show when the score was about 14-0. It felt like you wanted to be the jerk on the jerk list.
Oh, stop it. All right, let's get into it then. And you know what? When we're talking about my teams, I should say Saturday counts too. And my Indiana Hoosiers, my alma mater, laid waste to the overmatched Illini. I was bummed out, though, and this is the start of the jerk list. So be ready there, Mike Fuentes, with that Han Solo Edition blaster. Right at the tail end, a splendid night was diminished by my fellow IU students who chanted, in the waning moments of the game, overrated at Illinois, the 9th-rated team, as the 63-7, or was it 63-10 blowout was concluding, thereby marginalizing the splendid effort by their fellow classmen who just did something very special. And when you chant overrated at them, it undermines it. It's like overrated. No, they're properly rated. And in fact, you're a really good team that would destroy most other teams in the country, but it just shows how good and special our program is right now.
It's a bit wordy.
Would be something like that would be better, right?
Yeah, I think it works up that.
There's a shocking amount of Indiana football fans in my life now because I watch the Sunday night games with our buddy Rhett Lewis in the NFL Network film room, and they're gangbusters. My Tulane Green Wave not doing well, and I'm sick of moral victories. You mentioned the Patriots thing. The moral victory is the worst thing you can possibly have in the NFL because you're bound to play worse the next week, and then you just have a bad loss, and then you're stuck. It doesn't help you in the standings at all. That was a shameful defeat against the Steelers, who were exactly who I thought they were, defensively, offensively, and none of it mattered. They still lost by a touchdown.
Let's dig into it a little bit, shall we, then? And with our first item proper on this week's jerk list, Mike or Gino, take it away. Greg and I will react to a statement and evaluate if it's a knee-jerk overreaction based on the still limited information that we've been given in this regular season, or if it's spot on. Take it away.
Okay, just a quick programming note, Dave, here before we get started. The Han Solo Edition blaster, a little underwhelming, so I have changed it to the TIE Fighter Edition blaster, which is multiples. There you go. So they can really get the point across, okay?
All right, I just want to make it clear, I am on the rebel side. I am not a part of the evil empire. Mike made a decision that belongs to Mike, and that's it.
As you are signaling me to shoot people for being a jerk, you are the one on the good side. That is correct.
Just give him the blaster. Just give him the blaster. Just give them a little taste. Just give them a little taste on the backside. That's all.
First knee-jerk reaction for Week 3. Eagles-Bucks will be fighting it out for home field advantage in the NFC.
Well, listen. Let me put a finer note on this. Eagles and Bucks playing in Tampa in Week 4 will determine who gets the number 1 seed in the NFC ultimately. How about that, Gregg Rosenthal?
No, that is a massive overreaction. The Bucks have done a nice job winning 3 games by a total of 6 points. They're well coached. I love the way they've been built, but they're missing 3/5 of their offensive line. They might get Tristan Wirfs back this week. They'll get Luke Gedeke back eventually. Mike Evans will come back eventually. To me, this is a team that should feel very comfortable. They're on the opposite of kind of the moral victory, side of things. They haven't played that well, but they found a way to get wins. But I would be surprised if they are at the end of the season in the mix for the home field advantage.
Here's why I think it is not an outrageous thought. The rest of the NFC South is an atrocity. So there's not going to be a lot in the Bucks' way. It does not. People need this reminder, I feel like, almost every year. It is not an evaluation who gets the number 1 seed. It's not an indication that that's the best team in the conference. In many cases, the one I always point back to is Ryan Tannehill and the Titans a few years back when they were the number 1 seed. They weren't the best team and everybody knew it, but because of the way the schedule's set up. The football gods put them in that spot. So if they beat the Eagles, I don't know what's getting in their way the rest of the season that's going to knock them off that perch there. So Gregg Rosenthal says it is a jerk. I'm gonna let it go here. I'm in a decent mood here. Let's move on to the next one, shall we?
All right, let's have a little bit of college, a little bit of pro. Bill Belichick, absolute fraud, owes his entire coaching career to Tom Brady.
Ooh, you know what? I have my thoughts here. Bill Belichick got destroyed again over the weekend. How say you? I know this is more than just a few weeks here we're looking at. What are your thoughts here now? All the 25 years later, how say you?
You know, I'm taping this in my garage, and as someone who has way too many books about the Patriots and Bill Belichick behind me, whoever suggested this is a jerk, because Bill Belichick's a jerk. We know that. This endpoint Bill Belichick, UNC, last couple years of New England, is not a good coach, but the magic of football is the combination of the defensive game plans that Belichick was coming up with Brady on his side. Yeah, he wouldn't have risen to those heights without Brady, but the same is opposite. Of course, the player's more important. It's a player's league. But just because he's not good right now at a point where he's willing to be embarrassed and have his girlfriend on the sidelines of a UNC game, I don't think invalidates the last 30 years of football.
Well, listen, like I said, it's not just looking at the last few months or the last few weeks even. It also goes back to post-Brady Patriots and Brady on the Buccaneers. That kind of laid it to bear, right? And I think this is just further proving the point. I think this is absolutely valid. A fraud, I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit of an overstatement. But
he's old. When do we stop saying the point?
He's not playing in the game, though. What his age is, what that has anything to do with, I'm not exactly sure. Although I guess there aren't that many old guys coaching. As old as he is now, he doesn't have many peers. But still, I would buy that more if he were trying to play quarterback. He's merely a coach, man. He can't teach up these student athletes.
Let's bring a little bit of ageism back into society. I think it's okay when you're looking at massive jobs, corporations, government, whatever you want to say, that your level of performance might be declining a little bit when you get older because you're out of fresh ideas. You're not as young and hungry, and you don't have all those colleagues to hire that were up and coming. What Belichick was doing as a coordinator with the Giants and then early with his Patriots, he was ahead of the game, and he knew everyone in the game, and so could make all the right hires and plan it all out. And now it's
or did Tom Brady just cover all that up? Or did Tom Brady obscure everything?
Look at those game plans. Look at those defenses. He's out of ideas at this point.
Well, that's what Jordan's there for. She's the idea lady, right? Speaking of ageism, that sets us up neatly for the next item on the jerk list.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't like getting pressured, just like the other 32 quarterbacks in the league.
I get it, but this is a fatal flaw. And it's not just Aaron Rodgers. It's all guys when they get on the wrong side of 40 or start to get close to it. You hear a lot. The rhetoric is, boy, that young guy, I always remember with Blaine Gabbert. He's always the one that comes to mind when this comes up. Boy, he's got happy feet. They got to clean that up in training camp and through the season. He's got to get more comfortable in the pocket. I think you could also probably charge Kenny Pickett with having the same issue. But really, it's a plague on old guys, and it makes all the sense in the world because they're more aware of their mortality. And unlike the younger guys, more athletic guys, they can't really do much to get away from that pressure other than turtle up or throw the ball a tick earlier than they want to. And those balls happen to get picked off quite a bit. How say you on this one, based on what we've seen from Aaron Rodgers so far this season?
Yeah, it is clear as day. He doesn't want to get hit to the point that it is hurting their offense. They can't go down the field. Their offensive line isn't really that good. And then for a guy who doesn't want to get hit a lot, he sure does get hit a lot. He's taken a lot of hits. He's not as creative getting out of pressure. He did not complete a single pass under pressure against the Patriots. I think it will doom them. If you had a 2000 Bucks level team around him that Tom Brady had in terms of the offensive line and the weapons, he's actually spun it pretty well this year. I think they could be capable, but it's not great around him, and I don't think Arthur Smith is the guy to bring the talent out of that group.
I mean, ultimately, we park our cars in the same garage. The mistake is anybody who thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to be a plus. Exactly, the Brad Johnson effect. Peyton Manning in 2015 kind of thing. He's more dynamic than Peyton was when they won that Super Bowl, but they would have to follow exactly that script, and the rest of the team would have to be good enough to prop him up when he is mortal. So far, perfectly rational thoughts here. Let's see if we can get into something a little spicy.
Belichick was not irrational.
All right, you guys want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Let's get
The Colts are for real, and Daniel Jones is an MVP candidate.
But Sam Darnold is the real MVP of the league right now.
Hit him with a blast.
He's playing Kubiak offense. What?
Thank you. Stop this nonsense before it gets going. Let's not let this train leave the station.
He looks like Gimli from Lord of the Rings.
Stop being
Gregg Rosenthal.
Seattle loves it. They love high fantasy.
I think we got a
Thank
little too
goodness.
crazy.
There's the sweet sound of the blaster. Gregg Rosenthal, Danny Dimes, or Sam Darnold winning the MVP in the year of our Lord 2025. How say you?
No, it's preposterous. And if I really want to be a jerk about it, I'm not even into MVP talk after 3 weeks of the season. I'm one of those jerks.
I'm with you. We're both jerks. We're the biggest jerks of all. I admonished Mike Ryan not a week ago for exactly this. You don't indulge this kind of stuff this early in the season. They're great stories. They have zero chance of winning the MVP. Both of them are not going to win the MVP. Do not spend your money wagering on them for MVP. It will be just the same as throwing it into the garbage can. So there we go. Now we got that. Now we got the blaster going. Next.
Okay, the Browns are just a victim of a tough early schedule.
Before you react to that, the one thing I do want to say is I picked the Colts to win the AFC South. We're going to talk about it with Geoff Schwartz. I did go in on that. The rational thing is it's sustainable in that division, especially with the Texans now at 0-3. Okay, the Browns are a little underrated. Gino, go in a little bit more and tell Greg why you wanted this one on the list.
I'm the one that wanted on the list, Dave. Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah, that's fine. I get it. We sound the same. I get it. So they played the healthiest a Bengals team will be all season with Joe Burrow. Only lost by 1. Then they had that unfortunate game against the Ravens, which are last week's guest. I think his name is Costas. If I get it right, I just don't want to say it wrong. And he said that was a very misleading scoreline. And now they beat the Packers, many, including which our very own Gino Fuentes said we're going to the Super Bowl this year. They beat them 10-13. Defense is for real. So that's 3 tough games. You expect them to be 0-3. They got a win out of that? That's great.
Well, it was a star turn by Nick Kostos, but Gregg Rosenthal, it's your turn.
A handsome man, just like Kevin Stefanski, just like you. You kind of resemble Kevin Stefanski as nice beard at this age. They are very unlucky to actually be 1-2. If you look at the numbers, I mean, they outgained the Ravens. They almost doubled the Bengals in yardage. And then yesterday, when you watch that game back, it looked like 2 pretty even teams, 2 very good defenses, 2 shaky offenses. And you're thinking, like, how is this even happening with the Cleveland Browns? So I agree with this take.
I guess so. Yeah, they were failed by their kicker in week 1. And like I said after that game, if the Browns kicker had just made that kick towards the end of the game, the conversation coming out would have been like, what is going on with the Bengals? That they just no-show the early portion of the season every year. And as far as that goes, the what-if aspect of what we just saw, if the Eagles don't block 2 field goals in the second half on Sunday, the conversation right now is once upon a time in Hollywood, Rams v. Chargers in the Super Bowl. How say you? That would be the buzz, I feel like.
I feel like that is still on the table. I don't feel that much differently about the Rams other than, am I allowed to just nominate people for the jerk list? Because you want to hear a jerkish behavior.
Free football country here.
By this entire Rams organization. You know what yesterday was? My daughter's 14th birthday, who is a diehard Rams fan. And to watch that travesty at the end of the game, she said she has never been more upset, more mad at the end of a Rams game. To ruin her day was just untoward.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that's the way it went down. And I happened to be in my car. I had to run an errand real quick right at the end of that one. And so I heard our pal Maurice Jones-Drew call that one and react to it with our other pal JB Long. Yeah, that was sad because really Los Angeles should be 6-0 right now. I was impressed by the Chargers' rally there. I thought that once the Bronx caught them and took the lead, that they probably were going to be able to hold on because of the in-game injuries to the Chargers. But Justin Herbert, dare I say, an MVP type of play. That is one that you will hearken back to in December and January, the touchdown pass he throws to Keenan Allen in a big spot there. It's a different Justin Herbert. It's a different Chargers team. Greg, I'm curious what you think is right now as you regard the AFC. And here comes the NFC. And I said this in the offseason, that the NFC people settled into a mindset that, well, obviously the heavyweights are on the side with all the superhero quarterbacks. But the NFC is really has a group of real strong teams there. I think the one we're sleeping on the most in all the NFL at this point is the Niners. They're sorted down because of injuries, but they are going to be a factor. What is the AFC team that you think we overestimated the most? There are some good candidates for that award right now.
Well, it's funny because if we're saying we, like the football populace.
Yes, the collective wisdom. You have the Chiefs. You have a lot of people are hip on the Raiders.
It's probably the Texans. I expected their offense to figure it out. Mina Kimes, our friend, throughout the offseason kept pointing out, scheme doesn't solve everything. Like, these offensive linemen do stink. And I thought getting rid of the coordinator was going to make CJ Stroud play better immediately. They've lost 3 close games against pretty good teams. So I'm not totally giving up on them for the season. Personally, for some reason, I thought the Jets were going to be in the mix, but I never thought they were going to be contenders. Like, eyeball test, though, it's the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I think, look the worst of all those good teams.
Yeah, I mean, the overused phrase security blanket, there have been a lot of changes over Mahomes' career, but the one thing that he consistently had alongside Andy Reid was a dependable Travis Kelce. I think that's the biggest factor. We can talk about all the other stuff, but I really think that he was the guy who made that offense go for all those years. In fact, even before Patrick Mahomes, and I think his absence as a relevant guy consistently is what's knocking that team down. Hey, Gregg Rosenthal. Get on a plane, go watch Carson Wentz take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Give us a pick in that game on your way out the door.
Oh, I am picking what I'm rooting for, which is Carson Wentz and Brian Flores and this defense making your Aaron Rodgers look old. But yes, I'm heading over to Dublin. Excited. Give
our mutual pal, handsome Hank Hodgson, a big kiss and a congratulations for all he's built as the king of international football. Another stripe on his shoulder. I don't know what that means. But anyway, send them our best and have a great time over there. And thanks for the time, Pally. NFL Daily, great stuff. It's a daily show about pro football. If you didn't pick that up from the name, it's dandy stuff with, like I say, as good as it gets in this business. Gregg Rosenthal. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Shaq. You're the best.
Let's move on now to points per game when we look back at the most important points from the biggest games in Week 3 with our pal. He's the host of Geoff Schwartz is Smarter Than You. He's also living in fear until October 11th arrives at his doorstep or in Eugene, Oregon, when the mighty Indiana Hoosiers pay a visit. A reckoning for Fernando and his pals up there in the Pacific Northwest. I may well have to go up there. Are you scared, Geoff?
Previously, the concern level was 1 out of 10. It has risen to maybe a 4.5 out of 10.
Okay. Oh, that's respectable. Yeah. I appreciate that sincerely.
Yeah, it has risen a little bit. Indiana, obviously, I'm sure you talked about it already, beats Illinois. That game got out of hand. I mean, obviously, the end result probably wasn't
got out of hand. It was an ass whipping from start to finish.
It wasn't. I didn't expect. I thought Indiana would win and cover. I don't know if I told you that last week, but
you did.
That was quite the ass. I just think Illinois was super overrated. Indiana was not underrated, but it was a fate of Illinois. And look, Illinois lost 7 guys in the defensive backfield during that game, I think, plus their best linebacker. So, look, Cignetti, man, I'll tell you what, I don't know where to properly rate him as a coach in college football, but dude is like just a glass eater, man. Like, he just lives and breathes football. You hear him talk. I remember Big Ten Media Day, we interviewed him on the radio. And he just like calls out. He's like, we have to do better defensive tackle. I don't like our guys. And obviously good. And look, you know what I find interesting so far? So we have 4 weeks in, right? So we have a good amount of data so far. the top of, as we entered 2025, who were the 5 or 6 quarterbacks that were the top of the group, right? The class that we thought Arch, Aller, Nessmeyer, Klubnik, and Sellers. Like those were like the names, right? And look who the best quarterbacks are. Mendoza. Moore,
Mendoza, by the way,
Mateer,
has the shortest odds for the Heisman now.
So those,
and Mateer's right behind him.
And Dante Moore's third, I think. Those obviously fluctuate week to week. It's not a market you're betting a lot of money into, so they'll change week to week. But it's interesting how like the second tier quarterbacks that a lot of us thought, like I have a Mateer Heisman ticket from way back in the summer. I have a Dante Moore. Like I thought those would be good. I didn't do Mendoza because I thought, winning obviously matters a lot to this. I didn't know Indiana was going to be this good, quite honestly. But I knew Mateer was a baller. But look, I watch Cal football. I watch Washington State football. Like I pay attention to those. It was my old conference, right? So I knew those guys, and I thought Mendoza coming to this offense. I told you privately, maybe on via old podcasts we used to do. Like I thought this was going to happen with Mendoza. And look, week 1, it took a little bit of time. Obviously, that happens sometimes, but then they hit the stride in the middle of game 2, and ever since then, smooth sailing. We'll tell you what though. This is like a trappy of trappy games this weekend at Iowa. I'll tell you that.
I agree.
As trappy as they come. Plus 7.5. For the Hawkeyes, we'll probably make my card this weekend.
How the attrition, you always hear about that. I know it applied to pro football about like 12 at the height of the Seahawks powers when they're Legion of Boom and all of that. The week after win-loss record of the teams that just played the Seahawks was way down because they were so physical. And I remember that with Navy. Remember when they were running the triple threat or whatever they were?
When they're really good, the team the week after struggles. Yes.
Right. It was always a great bet to make that the team wasn't going to cover at least, even if they did beat Navy the week before. So that's a valid thing?
I think it depends on. So the Navy one is interesting because it's such a unique type of offense they're running. I mean, they're going at your knees if you're a defensive lineman all game, right? Because they're trying to cut guys out, and it's a bashing, just over and over again. I get why. And look, and sometimes they're playing like the Tulsas, right, and the Memphises. Like the next week, if you play Navy, you'll probably be a little beat up. Oregon plays, they play 10 defensive linemen, right, Dave. They play mostly 3 linebackers. They play essentially 10 players in the secondary. They rotate. They just like line shift guys in and out. So, that's why depth is so important. It's why I think the longer playoff you are, the actually narrower amount of teams can win the postseason. In a 4-team playoff, right? Just got to win 2 games, right? You get lucky in game 1. TCU beats Michigan. Now they're asking by Georgia. I get it, but that, in theory, though, they could have been Georgia, right? Like Washington beats Texas. 1 more game to win. Now it does favor Ohio State. And it does favor Oregon and Texas. Obviously, they're not as good this season, but the thought, Georgia, like Alabama, the teams that recruit the best players, the longer the playoff, the more attrition you're going to have, and the better players you have to backfill, the better you're going to be, right? Like there are teams right now that are good, but you lose. If Indiana were to lose their best defensive lineman, let's say, do they have someone that can step in and give them something? I would say probably not.
That's exactly what I was thinking watching that game on Saturday night, that it's very much like big market baseball team versus good small market team. You just don't have the depth. The Yankees and the Dodgers and all the heavyweights, what they have is a viable 6th starter when the small market team, even in the playoffs, doesn't have a viable 4th starter.
Think about the Dodgers this year, right? All the injuries they had, and look where they're at right now, right where they should be, right? A lot of teams, you have those same injuries, Dave. Like you're just not going to be as good. It's that simple.
I'm sorry to go back to it, but I just have to say that we make these assumptions, and my text chain with my IU pals is now, well, they have to beat either Oregon or Penn State and not lose to Iowa or any of these other trap games out there. I disagree. I think how they lose, even if they presumably do lose to the Ducks and to the Kidneys, I think if they play them close and they're 2 top 10 teams, the same benefit that everybody's giving Notre Dame, well, they almost beat those teams, then why would that ding IU? Yeah. If they're 10-2 and their only losses are to 2 other top 10 teams and they're relatively respectable, I think you do put them in.
It's a fun discussion to have, Dave, because I think it applies for a couple other teams. So let's say Penn State. Let's say they lose to Oregon this weekend and lose to Ohio State. They're 10-2. Or Does it matter how they lose? Same with Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame 10-2. Now Notre Dame plays Arkansas this weekend. There's not a foregone conclusion they win that game. Their defense is atrocious, that being Notre Dame. And so, yeah, I think in college football, because we don't have a division structure, essentially what the NFL has, you don't play 17 games. You don't have what essentially is a balanced schedule, which is what the NFL has, right? It's a uniform schedule system. Like you everyone sort of does the same thing. It's easier if you sucked last year. It's harder if you were good last season. Like all those things matter. College football, we have to judge the 12 games sometimes off margin of victory, margin of loss, and then it becomes kind of a pissing contest of who's better in EPA and offense, who's better EPA defense, like what happened in the game, who turned the ball over. It just becomes kind of, to me, nonsense. But yeah, I mean, look, Indiana, depends how Illinois finishes. I mean, look, Notre Dame's the same boat. Notre Dame needs USC to be undefeated when they come to South Bend. And I think Michigan probably beats USC in a couple of weeks anyways. But like they need those things to happen to them. Penn State's got to probably beat one or the other to be a playoff lock. I think in 10-2 they're probably in. Indiana probably, if you lose to Oregon and you lose to Penn State, both road games, there's difficult games. You'll probably be a 7-point dog in Eugene, probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 in Penn State. That, you probably need to go 10-2 with 2 close losses, and you're probably in, I think.
Without knowing anything about the season, I assume the SEC and Big Ten are both going to get 4 teams no matter what, or shame the devil. And so if you start from that place, then there you can have a little more optimism. Anyway, all right. So we see big upsets in college football. Then these people who are professional football players who get paid great heaps of loot, hundreds of dollars to play football. And yet, for whatever reason, because I bring up the Packers and Browns game, and I want to talk about all the consequential games here and get your thoughts, but one half of that game has a consequential team in the Packers. So they're rolling and everybody's buzzing about how good they are and maybe they're the best team in football. And, the average human being is always told, like, hey, youth is wasted on the young, and like all the enjoy your health because that's all you have. And no matter how many times you hear it, you can't absorb it until it's one of those things until you're in it. Why can coaches not convince their players to not overlook teams that are worse than they are?
I think it's human nature somewhat, right? A long 17-game season, you've seen 0-2 Browns team has been pretty pitiful, and you think to yourself you have it in the bag and you don't really prepare quite the same way you should. The Packers are still a very young team, Dave. I mean, I've had moments in my career when I thought it would be an easy week, and it turns out to be the worst week ever because you just don't mentally prepare quite the same way. I think it's just human nature.
But don't you guys hold each other to account? Like on the flight to the game, are you like, do you guys say to each other, like, we got to make quick work of this team? Should be an easy breeze. Like, do you have conversations about when the head coach starts the week off with like, hey, this is a pro football team. They got some talent over there. Like, they're the worst team in the league, coach. No. Like, how would you get up for the Saints right now? But you have to. You can't no-show. There's a professional athlete. Right. And yet it always happens.
It always happens. But also, too, the Browns players get paid as well. Miles Garrett's pretty good. And, look, Jordan Love doesn't throw the interception. The game, they win 10-3 probably, and you just like, they survived. It is funny how you mentioned that about it's so different in college football than the NFL. With the NFL, just win by a point, baby. Who cares? Doesn't matter how you do it. Just win and move on to the next week. And Jordan Love doesn't throw the interception, right? They don't block that kick at the end. We just say, Packers grinded one out. They got it done. I mean, to lose a game 13-10 when you're the Packers offense is not good. I know the Browns defense is good, but 10 points is not acceptable. And it happens every week, man. There's also, I've been on 0-2 teams, Dave. There's this just drive and need to win that third game. But players don't follow a lot of trends. But we know what 0-3, we know what 0-2 means. We know what 0-3 means, right? 0-3 is like, there's only one team, I think, in the modern era, right? The Chargers, like 92. They started 0-4, I think, and made it to the playoffs. And look, I get
it's easier. I think that is a valid point, but also remember the 7th team, the extra wild card, erases some of that history. But your point, I take your point, obviously.
Right. So players and coaches know that, and so there's a little bit, and you saw a lot of 0-2 teams really battle. The Jets, obviously, right at the end there, and because like 0-3, and again, every player and every team thinks they're going to the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter how good or bad they are. I've been on 2-14 team. You think you're going to the Super Bowl to start the season, right? Like I've been 11-5 team.
Really?
Same thing.
Really, there isn't like over the course of training camp. Like I don't know, I've been on some other teams here, and this one does not stack up.
I think you have to convince yourself, Dave, that it's going to go well. I knew in 2010 we weren't going to be good, but you convince yourself it's going to go well. You have to, because otherwise, it's hard to play football when you're good. Imagine playing when you're 2-14. It's even hard. It's even harder. So you convince yourself. Oh, can I tell you?
I'd like you to, but to prove your point, the Dolphins. A lot of people didn't think they were. I thought they were just going to get humiliated on Thursday Night Football. They almost won that game, and who else was? Oh, the Giants. The Giants were right there. They had a chance.
The Chiefs also stink. That helped with that as well.
Okay.
So we're playing. We're 2-14. Okay, in 2010.
Who's we?
Panthers 2-14. Okay. We were in Pittsburgh week 15 on a Thursday night. It's just 2010 now, and we were bad. We were like 2-12 at that point. I think it was. It was like 0 degrees out. Just like Pittsburgh was 2010. They're the best team in the AFC, right? Whatever it was that year, and the defense was incredible. They're allowing 66 yards per game rushing. Just the entire Hampton, Kiesel, Ferrier, Harrison, just all the dudes, right? Everyone, Ryan Clark, everyone, Ike Taylor, all these guys.
Name them all.
They were incredible. And so
Larry Foote.
Yeah, Larry Foote. We were in Pittsburgh getting ready to play that game on Wednesday night. We had just finished our meetings, and as an offensive line, we used to go and play cards together in someone's room and laugh and have a good time before the game. And so it was the only time in my career where two things happened, okay? One is an offensive line, we set a goal to rush for more than 66 yards, which you think is crazy, but we're like, this is our tomorrow. We can't complete any passes with Jimmy Clausen, so we're gonna just run the ball
with Jimmy Clausen.
And mind you, like Jonathan Stewart, I think was hurt. D'Angelo Williams, I think we had like Mike Goodson was our starting running back. Like it was not good, and that was our goal. And two, only time in my career we ever openly sort of joked about how bad it was going to get on Thursday night. Like we're like, this is going to be bad. Like just be prepared for the type of game we're going to play. And I think we were down 27-0, and Pittsburgh fumbled the ball in their own like then -20. We got 1 yard on 3 plays, get the field goal to lose 27-3. It was such a. I think we threw for 88 yards, but we rushed for 78 yards in that game, and we beat our goal. Rushing.
Why is Geoff Schwartz dumping champagne on everybody's head? What is he doing?
And I think actually the game is so bad that like Pro Football Reference doesn't even have a box score for the game. Like there's some. It was so ESPN. ESPN didn't have a box score for it. Yeah, we had rushing yards right here, 74.
Oh. Look at that. Wasn't that your uniform number?
That was actually, yeah.
Nice tribute. Nice
tribute. It was. And we passed for 72 yards, if you were curious.
All right, let's turn to pro football now fully and talk about the Chiefs, who you just said stink. I mean, now they stink. You and your brother, Mitchell Schwartz. Yeah. I saw talking on social media back and forth about this. You both come to the same conclusion. You're uninspired by what the Chiefs are doing.
Yeah. Uninspired by the Chiefs. I don't know if I want to break news, but it looks like Nick Bosa suffered an ACL injury. That sucks.
Ooh.
Yeah, geez. Injuries, man, every year, just freaking brutal. All right, the Chiefs.
Is he their Jenga piece? Now that you remove Nick Bosa, did they implode?
We've seen that they put on the screen the numbers yesterday of the advanced, the EPA essentially when he's on and off the field. It's pretty bad when he's off the field. I mean, look.
This may well change my Super Bowl 60 prediction finally. I've been riding with the Niners v. Bills. This may be enough to disrupt it.
You just don't replace guys like that. There's no way to do it. Now, maybe Williams as a rookie can take some of that slack, but he's obviously an interior rusher, right? There's no free agents like hanging out. So it's a bad. Okay, so back to the Chiefs really quick, Dave. First of all, the Giants.
Deep breath to talk about that.
The Giants are just atrocious on offense. Like disregard that side of the ball offensively, right? For the Chiefs, they ran like their best drive of the game out of halftime. Right? They come down, score a touchdown. They look like a real drive. Ran the ball under center, for multiple runs that were successful and never did it again. Like that's the frustrating part, right? They just keep doing things that don't work over and over again. And in the run game specifically. And their tackles, I know there's a number like rush yards over expected, essentially, right? Like, do you get more yards than you're supposed to? The Chiefs' backs are negative. They get less yards than they're supposed to every single time. It's an entire mess. Now, offensively, we saw a little bit of a spark because they had one guy who can catch a pass past 7 yards in Thorne. And David looked much better when he finally got going in the second half. And that's why I hold out a little bit of hope with Rice coming back and Worthy coming back, is that the offense should pick up. The run game probably doesn't, but the pass game should pick up if Mahomes forms a connection with these guys. Look, Kelsey very clearly is like the fourth option now. He can't be one. So with these guys coming back healthy, they'll be better offensively, I think. I liked when Andy Reid and Travis Kelsey got into it a little bit. I feel like it woke everyone up. At least Andy Reid.
Let me ask you a question about that. Andy Reid, as you could have predicted from a million miles away, was going to say, I like it. Some fight from our big guys. And excuses that. What does Travis Kelsey say to Andy Reid in that spot? What is he yelling at him specifically?
My guess is he's telling him to call better plays. It's my guess. I don't know.
But is it like, why are you throwing it to 87? Or is why are we not running in that spot?
My guess is he's just saying, like, why are we calling the better plays? Like, what the hell are we doing? And I mean, Andy Reid went up to him and bumped him.
Yeah, that's true, right.
Like, Andy went into his face. And so, but it woke him up. Look, the second half was much better.
Okay, so what's Andy Reid saying to Travis Kelsey?
Well, he doesn't.
What the hell's wrong with you?
He doesn't cuss. So I don't know what.
What the heck's wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so, I don't know. Like I'll do my. I think it's something like I'll do my job, you do your job is what I guess. Whatever, that's the way it went. That's how Andy operates. He's very much like, do your job person. Like, you handle your business, I handle my business. Like, we'll make it work together. And obviously, he came out of halftime, had their best drive maybe of the season. I mean, it was a great drive coming out of halftime. So they're a little bit better. Still can't rush the passer, though. Russell Wilson's just terrible. I can't believe there's no way they run him out this week. I mean, they might have to because they play the Chargers, but I feel bad for Russ, except that he wants to be put in that spot, but I don't know if it's him making that decision. But those QB draws, what are you doing? 30. If that's Dable, that is insane. I assume it's Russ, though, at the line of scrimmage deciding to do that. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a sequence. You go to my Twitter at Geoff Schwartz.
I saw it, made me laugh.
Yeah. It's a bad design. And then just Wilson oh God. So on first and goal from like the 5, they ran all sticks essentially where they just turned around the goal line. They ran to 5 yards and just turned around. Chiefs are playing man coverage because they play a ton of man coverage. And obviously no one's open. And then Russell Wilson, Dave, throws the ball like 30 yards up the tunnel. I don't know what he was doing anywhere but there. And it's not even intentional grounding. I mean, that ball went into the tunnel. Like, it was a while, and then
he threw another one that
it should have been
almost as worthy. Yeah,
it should have been grounding. The same thing. He threw it straight out of the back of the end zone, not near a wide receiver. Atrocious. And they call a quarterback draw in the red zone, which is really hard to operate unless they're playing man coverage and they're dropping guys out. Right, they're turning their back to you. You can't run a draw when teams are twisting. That's what they were doing up front. So they ran into a twist. Like, what upside do you get of playing him? I don't.
I told you, it kicks it down the road and maybe saves his job if later in the season you put Jackson Dart in there and he splashes. Yeah, you say, like, dude, well, we can't disrupt this moving train. Better keep us for another year, right? Right, Mara?
I'll tell you what, dude. The amount of boos you're going to hear in that stadium on Sunday, the ownership is not going to like that. Like, that's the thing. Like, Dart gives them a little bit of like, oh, we lost, but Dart is there. Well,
same effect with Scattaboo on Sunday night. Hey, let me move on because I want to get in a couple more games here before we finish this off here. It may be too late, like I said. Broken record Dave, remind you, Ravens next week, they have to play at the Jags. The Chiefs, making the playoffs is a likelihood, but I wouldn't put a lot of money on that happening. And I don't think they can win. Yeah. I really think it's going to be a real stretch for them to win the division, given what the Chargers are doing.
Yeah.
What's your big takeaway from that result? From them putting the Broncos down, and then the Broncos rallying, and then the Chargers rallying. Big takeaway for the West.
My big takeaway is the number one thing Jim Harbaugh has done is he's gotten the Chargers to stop charging, stop losing these games. Because this is a game for years they've lost all the time they lose this game. And they won the game. They're 3-0, Dave. Like, they're doing a great job. Herbert, that throw was absolutely incredible. And Jim Harbaugh has gotten the losing out of the building. And that, to me, is the most impressive part of what they've done so far. And yeah, look, the Chiefs' schedule is brutal, as we know. It's every year it's this way. But Ravens obviously a short week. Maybe they'll be able to pull that one out. But I think if you're looking at, if you can get to one win next 3 games, you're 2-4. Still probably have a battling chance with the Raiders and Commanders coming up. It doesn't feel
more
great.
Deep breaths from Geoff Schwartz as he talks about his beloved Chiefs.
Well, yeah, but the end of the schedule is pretty. The end of the season, you get Colts, Cowboys, Texans, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. That's when you have to run off a bunch of wins.
I don't know who is more sort of mediocre right now, your Chiefs or my Steelers. Let's call it a draw. Neither one is especially impressive.
If the Chiefs need 5 turnovers to win a game by touchdown, I'll text you about that. That was the most Steelers win of all time, again, as usual. I had the Patriots plus 1.5. How many times can we fumble at the 1 yard line and throw an interception, Dave? That was
fortuitous. Can they continue the lucky streak? I mean, it is weird that Tomlin always wins those 1-score games. That's the voodoo. The other games I want to talk about, Texans, Jags. You know what? Let's talk Rams, Eagles instead. What's your takeaway there? My thought is that were it not for that block kick, as I just said to Gregg Rosenthal, I think Rams, Chargers feels like a very realistic Super Bowl 60.
Yeah, no one in the country would care 0% about that, even though we'd all watch it. But can you imagine 2 LA teams playing, Dave? It would be
in Santa Clara, California.
Yeah. Look, that
the Gavin Newsom Bowl.
The Gavin Newsom Bowl. That was a tale of 2 halves, obviously. And I think the biggest difference the second half is the Eagles in the trenches just played much better. They got bullied in the first half, Dave. The Rams pushed the Eagles around.
Stunning, right?
And I was shocked. And then the second half, look, Lane left, which hurt the Eagles in the first half. They really calmed down. And then I thought it was important. A.J. Brown came alive, man. Like, you pay him all that money. That third down play is why you pay him that money. A great catch, a great hands catch, breaks a tackle, goes downfield. So the Eagles in this game, their bigger players stepped up in the end, which obviously you have to do, right? You pay these young guys, you draft these guys, and your superstars made more plays at the end than the Rams did. Super impressive. Obviously, the scoop and score and the cover was an all-time beef at the Rams, but I just thought physically the second half of the game, the Eagles came alive. The first half, they were either sleeping or the Rams just kind of caught them sleeping a little bit, and they got pushed around.
All right. I'm going to lay off because I don't want to start patting myself on the back too soon and get caught late in the season by you. But as a reminder,
the Colts are going to win the South.
Somebody told you the Indianapolis Colts were going to win that division, didn't they? And you didn't laugh. You stared into the camera like you were talking to some sort of buffoon.
I've thought about, like, I was going to look it up, like, what are the odds for no playoffs today? But I figured it's probably a dumb wager because the problem is the South, like the Titans they're bad. The Texans are 0-3. Their offense is not talked about. Their offense is the worst in the NFL, maybe. Like, it's an atrocious offense for the weapons they have there.
Who could have seen this coming, letting all your offensive linemen go?
Well, that's obviously. And then, obviously, Jacksonville, I just don't trust them at all. That game yesterday was just gross. But, yeah, I mean, no playoffs. It might not even be up right now for the Colts. I don't even know what it's at, but I think actually it would be a bad wager at this point. I think they're in the playoffs and that they're winning the division.
Dameshek does it again.
No plus 270. So yes.
Dumb Dave strikes again. If you doubt it, taste the blaster. All right. Geoff Schwartz is smarter than you. By the way, a big hit on the Football America YouTube page is Geoff Schwartz's clips, his show, and otherwise. You had a breakout hit the other day when you visited with the Cal.
And then they lost 34-0. So that really went well.
Why do you have to take away a nice little celebration here? Anyway, all right, great stuff, Geoff Schwartz. We'll talk to you again soon. Be well, fella.
Take care, buddy.
All right, and here we go, too. I do want to say very quickly, as far as the YouTube goes, we really appreciate you signing up, getting in there. We're trying to build that up. Leave some comments in the YouTube comment section, because I would love to be able to spin off and do an extra show a week where we do a Q&A there. Meantime, pleased to say, for everybody who's worked so hard on the show, the Fuentes brothers, Bradley, and beyond, we have transcended 200,000 audio listens already in just single-digit episodes. We didn't even need a 10th episode to get that high up there. That's thanks to you, my fellow football Americans. Keep it going. Spread the good word. We'll be back later in the week to get you right for NFL Week 4. Until then, thanks so much, football Americans. It's been a thin slice of heaven.